Hi guys, so today we have a really great special guest. She's a veteran homeschooler, she's an author and a speaker for Westchester County homeschooling, and it's going to be all about pods. Do you know what a pod is? I do. Let's find out. So this is Tamara Somerville. And
Hello.
welcome, Tamara.
Hey, Tamara.
Hi. I'm also a homeschool mom, and we've known each other for so long, and
Yes,
we've been
homeschooling together.
Yes.
It's great that we were able to start together, and we've been going strong ever since.
Yeah, like I'm saying, like 6 years-ish.
No.
7?
2013.
Oh, okay, that's a long time. See, it's
We're
so long,
on-
I can't even
we're on
remember.
like 8. We finished 8, starting 9.
I can't believe that. Time flies. So we're both homeschool moms. We're veteran homeschool moms. And I run the channel on Facebook, the Westchester Homeschoolers Living Naturally. And
I run Westchester Homeschoolers, and it has been, both channels have been blowing up with new people who are interested in homeschooling, trying to figure out, like, what am I supposed to be doing? How do I get friends? How do I get a group? And so we want to help answer some of those questions and help alleviate some of those fears. So we are going to cover all that for you today.
Exactly. So a lot of things that have been coming up on our pages. First of all, there's like 10 people a day like joining our pages and asking, how do I have an IHIP? How do I start homeschooling? What curriculums do I use? But the number one thing that I think that we're specifically talking about today is pods and what it is. So I guess, so homeschool pods, I've looked it up, and it's known as pandemic pods, or it's the newest trend this year. It's a model of small groups where kids learn together in others' homes, or either a tutor or with parents teaching. But mostly parents hiring people on the outside and having a space.
Yeah, mostly former teachers either coming in, or a lot of pods are looking for an accredited teacher, a master teacher, really an expert in a particular subject or particular grade level to lead. So it's pretty much a classroom in a home,
Right.
Just a really small classroom.
And everybody is like posting like, how can I join a pod, or is there a pod forming? And
Or who wants to be in a pod with me?
Yeah, yeah, exactly. So traditional homeschool families, usually there's a co-op. So a co-op is more of a traditional group of people coming together outside of the home, either mostly like the moms who have a certain skill, like say an artist or a graphic designer, you would teach like art history or photography, or like another mom.
I can do writing or math, or different subjects, but typically it's the mom's sharing responsibility, and a lot of it is often enrichment.
Right.
So sometimes it's not the academic subjects.
Right.
It would be like
supplemental.
Right.
For instance, like it would be like a cooperative games, like something like camp games, where it's like everybody's coming together, working together, or like it's extracurricular. It's not so much like we're doing math classes in a co-op. But that's the difference between a co-op and a pod, basically, where the pod is you are hiring a teacher for a certain amount of hours, I guess. And so one of the questions I think I have a lot is, are the pods considered homeschooling? Are they legal?
So this comes up a lot, and it has become a argument.
Yeah.
And so first of all, I want to say, if you're serious about homeschooling, you as a parent, you need to read the regulations. You need to go to New York State Department of Ed. The regulations are there. It's termed Regulations 100.10. They're not long, and they spell out what you can and can't do and what defines homeschooling. In addition to that, if you're on their website, there's a whole section of question and answers where it's going to give you an outline of what that is. So according to the question and answer section of the website, it tells you that if you have an outside person teaching as a group more than the majority of your homeschool curriculum, you are no longer homeschooling. You have effectively started a non-registered school.
Like some people they're calling it like a micro school, right? Is that what people are calling it? So pod/micro school. And like Tamara was saying, you have to read the rules and regulations at that point. It's not considered a homeschool co-op extracurricular. It's more like a micro school.
Yeah, and there is a huge difference between like hiring out a teacher and doing this in a group setting as opposed to going to an established school and let's say doing that online where you are actually in a group with other students.
Yeah.
You are actually, do have a master teacher, an expert or certified teacher, but it is a registered school already. So New York State already recognizes them. But if you just have a retired teacher who has maybe the experience, but has never actually legally registered their program, then you are neither in a traditional registered accredited public school, but neither are you actually legally homeschooling. While you don't have to do all the work yourself as a parent, you do have to be responsible for and in control of the majority of the education curriculum for your students.
Right, because I guess another question I have here is, what about a private tutor? If I pay someone to private tutor as an accessory to my homeschooling, is that fine? Isn't that just also like, I also have to teach the subject? Do they have to also teach the subject if they have a private tutor? That's a question that I get a lot.
Well, if we come historically, that's kind of where homeschool started.
Right, exactly.
Most people would, a lot of people weren't, while on the lower levels, parents would homeschool and teach their own kids. As you got either into higher grades or you were more wealthy, you actually would hire a tutor. The main difference is that it's a private tutor for either your kids or just your one student. It's not a group setting. As soon as you leave your home and take it into a group setting, or because you can tutor at like the tutor's place or
like,
their business.
Sullivan Learning Center or something like that.
But once you add outside families that are not a part of your homeschool, not a part of your family, that's where you run into some problems. And again, if the majority of the instruction is done by someone else other than you, then you're not considered homeschooling. But a tutor privately for your child is completely fine.
Yeah, because that's interesting that you're saying that, because it's like what is concerning the veteran homeschoolers is these pods, and some anonymous moms, like I took off some things, are saying certain things, and I'd like to share it only because I think I would like everybody to hear about people who have been doing homeschooling for a long time, what they're saying about pods. I had no idea I would ever dislike being part of homeschool community. I don't think most of these people will ever really homeschool, but they are wreaking havoc. Pod schoolers and COVID schoolers are not homeschoolers, and the waters are muddy. Phewy. So when I read that, I was like, oh wow, there's such a ripple going on with this new influx of pod schoolers versus veteran homeschoolers. And I'll just read one more. So they're not new homeschoolers. Most have every intention of going back and just want to do school at home. They do not want to learn about homeschooling. In fact, they think they invented it. Another mom says, absolutely not. They know better. I feel judged, and they're totally brainwashed by the public school paradigm. They do not come humbly in any way into a small, thriving community who do things very differently. They're literally wrecking the system. Like, so people, like I said, like I know. So like on my page and other pages that I'm reading, I'm like, oh my goodness, like the pod schoolers just want to, they want to come and do what's right for their children. They do. They really do.
I think the unifying factor, whether you are homeschooling because you want to avoid what is happening in the public schools, whether it's because of vaccines, because of masks, because they're not doing virtual, whatever the reason. Frankly, we all came to homeschooling for some reason.
Right. Everybody does it. Everybody does it different. Everybody has a different reason of going into homeschool, and everybody homeschools differently. There's not one person.
And that's the thing.
The
like there isn't even a thing amongst homeschoolers that we have to be in it forever.
Right.
So if they're there, if you're homeschooling for the year, you're homeschooling because of COVID, and once COVID is over, you plan on not homeschooling anymore. I mean, some of us homeschool because our child's behind, or we want to catch them up, or we're moving and we don't want to have to keep changing school districts. So none of us, well, I'll say a few of us, we don't intend to be long haul homeschoolers. So let's put that aside.
Yes.
The reason why you're homeschooling or how long you intend to stay homeschooling, put that aside, because we all have those variations.
Exactly.
And you know what's really interesting is almost 2 years ago when New York State in particular got rid of the religious exemption for vaccinations, we had another huge wave of people joining the homeschool community. And I believe the traditional homeschoolers embraced them.
Yeah.
We took them. We
I remember
sat
that.
alongside
Yeah.
them. We even
we had a talk.
this huge meeting.
Yeah.
And some of those people are now.
It was like 70 people from like religious exemption out of school, like were at this thing, and we just really they were actually came down and were just ready to absorb everything that we had to say. But it feels slightly different now, only maybe because COVID, obviously. And I wish we could have that more one-on-one contact with the new moms that are our families are doing pods.
So
That's why we're doing this, so we could kind of reach you guys and kind of welcome you into the community and guide you to the right websites or the right stuff to legal information of like how many hours and what's right, and to kind of like keep it above board for the veteran homeschoolers so they don't get.
And definitely, if you're a veteran homeschooler, I'm sure you know someone in your neighborhood, from your community, who's on your child's sports team or goes to the same dance program, someone who is now homeschooling because of COVID. They're now homeschooling because masks are going to be required, or because they're saying like the children under 12 are going to need to get a vaccine. Take them under your wing.
Yeah.
Sit with them. Talk to them. Their biggest thing is they're afraid. They have the same fear that we did, that we're going to screw up our kid, that we're going to choose the wrong curriculum,
well, not only that,
we're not going to challenge them.
People are also scared of, am I doing this right? Did I do the IHIP right? What is a quarterly report? What if I don't write it right? Like they're panicking, and it's right. And you should kind of embrace and pick up a new homeschooler and kind of under your wing and guide them. Adopt a homeschooler. Hashtag adopt a homeschooler. Okay, so another anonymous mom had mentioned, so worried about the future of homeschooling because of these folks. The word pod triggers me in ways I never knew. So yeah.
Yeah, so we talked about really not making the new homeschoolers feel ostracized and embracing them. But I also want to just address for new homeschoolers, I want to help you understand what the new pods, what existing homeschoolers are fearing. Whenever there is homeschooling is not, let's just be clear, public schools, traditional schools, they don't want us homeschooling. Yeah. And so there are always pushes, there are always laws to try to regulate us more, to try to have more of an input, more authority over what we can and can't do. So the fear that you hear in these moms' voice, and that's really what it is. We addressed your fear and your concern in terms of wanting to do right for your kids. The fear you hear from existing homeschoolers is that if there are a surge of pods where parents are, outside teachers are leading more than the majority of the homeschool curriculum, the concern is that the regulators will come in and say, hey, these schools need to be registered. Every co-op needs to be registered. Every group meeting needs to be registered. And so it changes and affects what we are allowed to do. And so what you hear is really a push to avoid potential ramifications because parents are choosing to not actually instruct their child for the majority of education on their own or with a tutor, but instead have a teacher. And so once we have certifications involved, once we have groups and non-registered schools, we really then create a legal problem for homeschoolers. And we have been through a whole bunch of legal fights. HSLDA, their sole job is to defend, one, our legal right to homeschool, and to help be an offensive against incursions to us being able to homeschool. So what you really hear is us wanting to protect our ability to homeschool. And so when we see things that are in violation of that, we become defensive because we want to protect our ability to keep doing it.
And that's why you're getting these comments on pages of moms who are worried about like the current state of the influx of the pods happening. So
we've got to work together. Is really we need to be able to work together and help you do what you want to do in terms of you want the socialization, you want the group, you want an expert. We want to keep homeschooling in any way which that looks like. And so when we get together and we talk about it, we can come up with solutions that work for everybody.
just to end it, I guess, I wanted to welcome new homeschoolers this year, COVID schoolers, that's what people are calling it, or new homeschool families.
How about we just call them homeschoolers?
Homeschoolers.
Welcome, homeschoolers, hover you got
yes,
here.
However
welcome.
you got here, welcome. We're here for you. We're here to help. And again, every school year looks different. So this
Yes.
year, when you're starting, don't freak out. You got this, mamas and families. And reach out to, Tamara or I or anybody who's a veteran homeschooler and have them give you a help.
Yeah, definitely check out a couple different websites. In New York State, there is a statewide homeschool group called, it used to be called LEAH, L-E-A-H. Their website is still leah.org. They're now Homeschool New York is their official rebranded name. Then there's HSLDA. Check out the New York State regulations, please. Every year, whether you're a veteran homeschooler or you are a new homeschooler, every year that you decide to homeschool, read your regulations again.
Yeah.
Because things are going to change for what subjects are required based on grade or age, how many hours are required based on grade, whether testing is going to be different. So read them every year. It is your best defense against fear. It is your best defense against questions, and it'll empower you to know what you're doing.
The answers are right there. You just take time to read it. Yeah, exactly.
Absolutely.
That's so great, Tamara. Yeah. So I hope we helped you. And if you have any questions, there'll be some links right down here. You guys can head to our pages if you'd like to reach us. So thank you so much for coming.
We did it again.
We did it again. All right. Well, thank you guys, and happy homeschooling.
Happy homeschooling.